Good. Hey guys, I'm Mike Manal from the Nerds of Color. How are you
Yeah,
guys?
Mike.
Hi, Mike. How you doing?
Very good, very good. Thanks. I'm very excited to talk to you about the show because this is exciting. I loved it. It was so much fun. The characters are so complex, it's so interesting. And who knows action better than Roland Emmerich, right? I mean, like some of the crazy scenes that we see
Yeah.
here, Dimitri, your chariot race scenes. I mean, like, oh my God, it's mind-blowing. What was it like for you guys to do a period piece set in ancient Rome with this much action and this much craziness going on? I mean, like for both of you guys, did you have to do any extensive prep for that? I mean, what did it all feel like for you?
I did some prep in early March for a few weeks with the other actors that were involved in the chariot racing, where we sort of underwent schooling from the very basics of how to like shovel horse manure in a stable and how to clean the horses and how to attach saddles to them to all the way right up to carriages and then eventually four-horse chariots. So I had this sort of intensive training at the beginning with the other actors, and it's great actually because it puts you right into the world. And as someone who's not spent time with horses, I felt like that was really something I needed to do to get the physicality right, the confidence around horses, the sort of behavior you have to have when you're around creatures like that, and how to look comfortable in those environments. So exposing myself to as much of that as possible so that I didn't look like I just got off of a flight from London and it was the first time I'd encountered a horse, you know? Yeah.
Gabrielle, how about yourself?
Yeah, no, for me it was slightly different. I kind of envy Dimitri because they had to do all this amazing prep and training. Like for me, walking around the Palatine with my beautiful clothes did not require such a training. I started in a different way. I live in Rome, so I'm very lucky to be actually living very close to the Palatine and the Colosseum. So I took a friend of mine who's an art expert an historian expert in ancient Rome. We walked around the Palatine and the Colosseum. She suggested some books for me to read about Livia Drusilla, Ottaviano Augusto's wife, or other amazing women in the past, like Messalina, who was the most controversial promiscuous woman in Roman history, most beautiful one, but very wild, yeah. Or Agrippina Minore, very clever in a political way. So I attached together all different elements to really portray my role in a way that was close to some of those amazing women in the past, but also had an element of something completely new that was written by Robert, that was guided and directed by Roland, and was really kind of bit created by my own instinct and just I'm a Scorpio, so I'm very instinctive. So
Yeah.
this role really tapped into my biggest kind of capacity of being kind of like a little animal sensing where to go with this role, which is very rare for an actress to have a role that inspires you like this. So she did. So she is the gift of my career. She's the best role I've ever played. She's the role I was waiting for over 25 years.
Well, let me just say that you guys did astounding on your works. I mean, just it's a testament to your acting abilities that talking to you guys and hearing your voices sound completely different than what I've just seen for 10 hours. It showcases how amazing your work is and how brilliant you guys are as actors. I can't wait for everyone to see the show. Thank you guys so much for your time. This was brilliant, and this was
Thank you,
Thank you.
Mike. Cheers.
thank you
Thank
guys.
you.
Very good to talk to you. Such an honor. First off, what a magnificent show. This is so much fun, so cool, very like authentic. And you guys got to work with Roland freaking Emmerich. That's amazing. Like, how was that for both of you guys?
Do you want to go first?
Well, obviously amazing. We all respect his work. To be honest, it's true that what I know of his work is more about science fiction, and I was really excited and thrilled and curious to see what he would do with historical fiction. And it's he puts everything he knows. Everything is like large and big scale, but also all the details are making everything so organic and real and powerful.
Worse. Ewan, how about you?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, he's obviously he's a genius, and he's the man to to do these, massive sort of battles and races, and to get the sheer scale. And he likes a wide lens, and so he's always, he's his attention to detail of every little part of every shot. Until he's happy, you're carrying on. And he's very fast. He wanted to, his idea, let's light it all with whatever light that would have actually been there, and all of these things. And he wanted to shoot it all on one camera, so he can be very specific with the lighting. And he moves at an incredible pace. You have to stay with him. And yeah, it's an experience and a half.
Everything just really, there's this authenticity to everything that makes it feel and immerses the audience in ancient Rome. For you guys, like, just kind of working against the volume, but also working with these practical costumes and sometimes like things like chariots and whatnot. I mean, Ewan, with you and like the bar and like the everything, where everybody's placing bets, like, did you guys feel immersed into Rome, and did you guys have to do any research to kind of get into the atmosphere and the environment of the show?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's wonderful to have sets that are so well built and designed that you can walk in and out of different rooms, and you're in the next. It was all one big practical set a lot of the time. Massive testament to all the hard work that went into making that, designing it, and then building it, and the costumes as well, and everything on a design level. Yeah, so it really helps us as actors because it feels very real, and you're not sort of cheating stuff. Yeah, so I didn't do any research about ancient Rome. No,
Okay.
I did a lot of research on it. I think that's the joke. Yeah. I became insufferable. Well, I listened to this very good podcast called The History of Rome 3 times because I had a lot of time traveling, and going to set every morning, and that's a lot of time when you can just pile in this information. And I wanted to really like bed it in and feel like I understood where my character was and how he got there, and what had been going on before him. And I wanted to know which emperor was in power when he was born and that kind of stuff. So yeah, I geeked out massively. Sarah?
So I left the historical part where you went, no. I just, well, obviously, I relied a bit on what I've learned in school, and that was really fresh because I loved it when I was in school. But then I kind of read the book Those About to Die by Mannix, and it's non-fictional, but it's lot of details about specifically how the society functioned, but how the games, because there's a lot of rules and it's really all organized. So the races, but the gladiators. So I was really more into those specifics.
Well, I can't wait for everyone to see the show. You guys just did phenomenal work. I want to compliment both of you guys because it's just really brilliant. This is going to be really exciting. It could definitely be the next Game of Thrones, which I think is huge. But thank you guys so much for your time, and this is exciting. I can't wait for people. This is an excellent show. You guys are just stellar on this. The action in this show, the look, the feel, everything. It just felt so immersive to ancient Rome. Not that I would know from experience or anything, but you guys might. Can you talk about working with Roland Emmerich and what that was like, and just the experience of going through, something that he had his hand in, and, I mean, like all of that.
Well, it was working on a set with Roland Emmerich was demanding in a good way, because you could the second you step on set, you sort of realize, oh, we're here to work, we're here to have fun, but we're here to work. And whenever you'd look at the frame, the screen that they're working on the setup, you'd look at it and go like, that's absolutely gorgeous, let's go film the scene. And he'd be like, I'm not even halfway there. And looking at the show now, it looks like a movie. It's so cinematic. And all the shots and the scenes, and it's beautiful. I'm in awe of the whole thing, and it's a great experience.
I mean, for me, it was a fantastic. It was an experience that every actor would kind of want to have. I feel like me and Roland we built a relationship very early on, and in such a big production, especially with some of the stuff that we're filming, where there's animals and there's so much going on, you need like a director that you can totally trust, that also has your back type of thing. And me and Roland were kind of able to kind of build that relationship very early on to at the point where, you know, if I was nervous or unsure about anything, I just needed his words and I knew I could trust him and I knew it would look great at the end of the day.
Oh man. And it shows in your performances, like just really how good he is at handling actors and handling, you know, these sorts of period pieces. And I just loved seeing it all. Speaking of period pieces, you guys looked so dope in Roman garb, you know, like can you guys talk about what the costuming was like and what it felt like to put all of that on and what it looked like, what it felt like when you guys looked at each other and were just like, oh my God, we look so dope and so real and authentic.
Yeah,
I mean,
the amount of work they put into those costumes and the sets is insanity. And it's all real. It's just real leather and it feels great.
yeah. And it was so, I mean, the costume is so good that if you were to have, you know, pasta the night before when you shouldn't have had, the next day the costume will kind of show, because certain parts of the costume would just not fit right. And that costume was, it's like fit to perfection.
It looks so authentic, and that's the one thing that I really like about Emmerich's work. He doesn't overload you with mocap or anything like that. It's authentic, you know, like real dressed up sets and costumes, and I love that.
Yeah,
Um,
he'll go for like in camera as much as he can,
yeah,
which is always better. And that's what makes it cinematic and beautiful.
of course. My final question, did you guys have to do a lot of extensive research into ancient Rome and some of the emperors at the time to actually prepare for this like project?
Yeah, I mean, I mean, especially for me, and my character being from North Africa, I done immense research. My best friend was like those, you know, those 5 minute mini series on YouTube about learn everything about North Africa and the Roman history in 10 episodes type of thing. So I found like many seasons of those, watched every single one, podcasts. But then there's also like North African history is, there's not a lot there for you to kind of to grasp onto.
Yeah.
Whatever I could get my hands on, I was into for sure.
Yeah. A lot of it was lost, but I'm glad that you were able to get a lot of it so that you can prepare for this role. Johannes, how
Oh,
about yourself?
well,
Oh,
Yeah, I
well,
mean,
sorry. I'm sorry,
they
Mo. Go ahead.
they say it was lost.
Mhm. But taken. Yeah, of course, of course.
right. Yeah, I
Uh,
mean, there is endless amounts of material you can look into. And I mean, I did for you don't have to, they don't tell you you have to look into it, but you want to. And
Yeah,
I looked into the histories of the Germanic tribes in the north, and it's endless and it's so much fun. And I'm not even halfway through, and it can last you a lifetime. It's such an interesting period of time, the whole thing.
it really is. Interesting and fun are two of the best descriptions to end on because this
Yeah.
show is both. I want to thank you guys for your time. This was definitely a gift, and I appreciate
so
it.
much
Can't wait for
fun.
everyone to see it.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Mike. Have
Mike.
a good day.
Have a great one.
Too.
I'm so excited to talk to you guys because you both are phenomenal on this show. And the show itself is so interesting, so much fun. Um, it's interesting because unlike some of the other characters on this, you two have characters that are based in reality on real life emperors. And I wanted to know the extensive research and work that you put into it. What was that like, and how long did you guys spend researching these two characters?
Sure. I mean, I guess so. Historical context is very important with these guys. And Domitian has a hell of a lot written about him, whether it be true or false, depending on how you look at the situation. But I think the big thing is that we filmed the show in Rome, where you are a city where you are surrounded by an enormous amount of history. It's kind of almost overwhelming, to the point where on my first day, I'm wandering around the city, just being like, where do you start? And I walked up the Palatine Hill, which I now know was the Palatine Hill. At that point, I was kind of just looking for an ice cream, to be brutally honest about it. And ended up standing in Domitian's bedchamber, which still is there in the middle of Rome. And that makes it an incredibly immersive experience. And to be honest with you, that does a huge amount of the job for you.
Wow. Tom, how about you? That's amazing.
Yeah, similarly, like obviously when you get onto a show that is being helmed by Roland, you know that it's gonna, look at his previous work. He's an absolute master at scale and the size of a film, but also ensuring that those films also carry through a real heart and really understanding the heart of the human side of it. He's almost unparalleled in terms of that kind of combination and really kind of carrying that through. So it's such a privilege to work with him. And then because of that, you're walking onto sets that are just overwhelmingly impressive. And so you're immersed in it on set, and then you leave set and you've just been at the Circus Maximus and you're driving back to where you stay, and then you go past the real Circus Maximus and you're like, whoa, okay, this is kind of hitting home. And so, of course, you got to do your research. Like Jojo highlighted, we're looking at some humans, some animals here in a very kind of unique situation, like any other moment in history. It's all about the context and the climate within which they find themselves. But as an actor, your job, should I say, is to find the animal in them, find their rhythms, find the textures of that, and that's the real thing. So the intellectual side is your professionalism almost, and you've got to lead that on to something more molecular, And hopefully we found that. And I have to say, working with Joe was a real thrill, because a lot of that kind of rhythmical stuff just seemed to exist in the ether between us from the get-go. So it was a real pleasure. Even if the characters weren't always getting on, me and Joe were, so that was fine,
We figured out very early on that me and Tom were both musicians. And also that sort of, it gave us something to immediately get on with. But also, like he says, that sense of rhythm, I think, is something we both share in our work, and which made us both click pretty damn quick.
You guys had excellent chemistry. It almost was like a Thor Loki thing going on there, which I loved. I just got that from it. I think, we can't talk about your characters without speaking about your father, the living legend, Sir Anthony Hopkins. What was it like working with him? Was he like a father? Was he giving you guys tips on acting and everything like that as you were doing your scenes together? I mean, that had to have been amazing, right?
Yeah, it was a real thrill. It was a real thrill. He's a couple of times today when I've been kind of going to, I'm like, it's just absurd to say what he is. We all know what Anthony is. That's the point, He's, in my opinion, the best actor ever, But then you walk on set and you got to bring it but you bring it anyway. You'd hope, but you don't know what you're walking into, because this is another level, man. He's literally the pinnacle, and then he's the nicest guy you could meet. A true gentleman who just puts you at ease, gives you the same respect he feels you're carrying for him. Like, is playful, is alive, is passionate, is fun, and just created an environment because myself and Joe had quite a bit to do with him, where we just felt like we felt free. I mean, I'm speaking for Joe there, but we'd spoken about that a bit, and I'd honestly, if he taught me anything, and this seems absurd with his absolute incredible history of incredible performances, it was how to be a gentleman on a set, and how to be a gentleman in this world. And I just loved it. It was something I will forever look back on with very fond memories.
He cracked me up every day.
Yeah, he's funny.
I think that's important to remember, is that he's just still having so much fun, and that is deeply inspiring.
Let me just tell you though, for you guys sharing scenes with Anthony Hopkins, you held your own, and you showed like all the audiences out there that you guys are just as good. And I can't wait for people to see both of you guys just unleash hell all over this amazing show, and I can't wait for people to see it overall. I want to thank you guys so much for your time. This was truly a gift, and I appreciate both of you guys. Amazing work. Thank you.
The activists, directors, comments and the lectures, fanboys, professional artists and professors. Maybe a nerd who's just like you, talking about the things that you like too. So I invite you to the NOC. In full color, you see me. The hard knock life, comics, movies and TV. Yeah, pop culture with a different perspective. Watch it on your screen, hit play, so check this.